Am I overreacting by moving out because my husband won't stop calling me stupid and other insults when we fight? Real posts, real problems, real people. It's tea time, so grab your favorite cup of tea or whatever it is you like to drink and let's spill the tea and clean it up. What's up, visionary? It's your girl Tonya, one half of TNL.J, relationship coaches, and I am so glad to be here, glad to have you here. We got a poster who really, really, really need our help. And if it's your first time seeing me or seeing any of our podcasts or lives, then you know that we are on a mission to create healthier marriages, starting with dating. So, again, today we got a poster who wants to know if she's overreacting. I'm sorry, some of my if she's overreacting because her husband won't stop calling her stupid, and also, he's throwing out those big insults when they fight. Shame, shame, shame. All right, I ain't gonna even get into that right now. Let's go to the post. All right, all right. So the poster is saying my husband and I have been together in total for 7 years. That's a while. For 7 years. He has always been disrespectful towards me when we fight. But I guess I always have hoped it would get better. And instead, surprise, it, in my opinion at least, got much worse over the years. Okay. And believe me, it's not for a lack of me trying to communicate or directly telling him, do not call me X. It makes me feel X. In the beginning, I begged for couples counseling, begged him to please talk to someone with me and work out these issues. And instead, he forced me to go to therapy and told me he would leave me if I don't. Oh, my. So he put all the eggs in your basket. He ain't had no eggs, huh? All right, let's continue. I was so gaslit that I genuinely believed I was making him treat me that way. And I confided all of this in my therapist, a middle aged man and father to a young woman. Okay. So I believe he may have been a bit biased, but I still like to believe his assessment was accurate. After visiting him for months, he told me he genuinely didn't have any advice on how to handle any issue I was talking about better on my end. Okay. I mean, because I did see that you used the I statements, when you was asking him about, stopping talking to you that way. So yeah, you begged him to go to therapy or counseling. He didn't want to go. So yeah, I see, you did try a whole bunch. So I can see what your therapist might be like, you handling things right. But I hope this wasn't after your first visit. Okay, let's continue. And one visit, I just cried my eyes out to him after being called a stupid F and B. Wow. The night before by my husband and his mother. Wait. Wind it back. So you mean to tell me that not only was your husband calling you a stupid FB, but he also allowed his mother to? Let me wait. Hold up. I'm just sit my little tea on that one. Mm, 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 mm. Wow. Okay. Let's continue. All right. Let's start here. After visiting him for months. Wait a minute. Hold up. Let me go back to the mother. Okay. Stupid F and B. The night before by my husband and his mother. And my therapist had heard about enough, told me to tell them to shove it where the sun don't shine. Really, therapist? Where the sun don't shine. After I came home, had clearly been crying, and my husband made me tell him what my therapist had said. He made me never go back to see him ever again. I was at the time simultaneously glad I was being forced to go no more, but I had genuinely found support in my therapist. So I was sad to not see him again. This was about 4 years ago now. Okay. So since then, we have moved into a new house in a new city, closer to said mother. Okay. Everything changed but the relationship, I can see. I ain't new city, new house, nearest mother, but nothing changed, and no investments in the relationship. But nothing. Okay, let me keep going. I'm gonna clean this thing up. All right. Okay. He had a job where he worked from home, and he has a coworker that he has gotten very comfortable just letting say mega crazy sexist shit about me, and just like women in general. It's kind of crazy. Oh, his homeboy's taking that red pill, huh? Okay, like literally, ha ha, women, bad driver. So why is our insurance cheaper? He does like typical wife bad jokes all the time, but like not even about his wife, like about everyone else's wife. And it's so wild to me. Yeah, that is wild. Obviously, my husband don't give a D, and I'm rather disgusted by his defense of this man every time he comes up in that context. I definitely understand the disgust. I would be you better than me on this one. Let's continue. My husband was about to leave for a business trip about a month and a half ago now. And he was just kind of stressed before it. I was just chatting with him. I don't exactly remember what got us fighting in the first place, but at some point, he just started screaming at me at the top of his lungs, "You useless effing stupid B." Wow. And I think I fell out of love completely in that moment. Wow. I think I held on for a long time hoping he would get help because he loved me or something. But I see that was foolish of me to think that he treats me with no respect and that I really just want out of this MF house with him. Wow. I'm just very scared about my financial position. I do work full time, okay. I have a car that's paid off, great. But I have 3 cats and a dog that I will be taking with me. And the oldest cat, I'm worried about moving again in the first place and putting her through the stress again. She ain't handled the move here well. But basically, yeah, I don't think I love him anymore. Is that crazy? Heck no, with my people in the background. Heck no. No, okay. I feel like reading this typed out and knowing just how much I left out only solidifies that I feel that way. But I just also kind of hope he sees this because I don't know how to tell him I'm touring the studio tomorrow and to see the look on his face. All right, so let's hop in the comments. So it look like it's only one comment here that says you should have left years ago and your therapist was right. So what do you think? What do you think the poster should have done? Do you feel like the poster should have left a long time ago? Do you think the therapist was right? Feel free to comment in the comment section. This poster obviously needs our help, okay? Post your thoughts. All right, so as for me, sometimes love don't end with this like big old bang. It's how I feel. A lot of people think that we've been together for 7 years, so our relationship, when it's over, it's gonna be a huge fight or something. But nah, sometimes it ends with a whole bunch of little cuts of disrespect, like this poster husband was doing. He was disrespecting her daily. Okay, and then she looked up one day and realized that that love already done bled out of those little cuts. So in her situation, the disrespect has become normal. I mean, you don't fall out of love overnight. So you been fell out of love. You couldn't take it no more. Everything just eroded. All the name calling, all the belittling words, it was just chipping away at the safety of that connection, just chipping away. So I also feel like a man who constantly disrespects his wife, he not struggling with anger, but he's controlling. So he choosing to control you with his words, with his ways, and involving his mother, letting his mama disrespect you, or him defending his mother's disrespectful behavior. It ain't a way. That's not just a family dynamic. That's a spiritually immature and emotional kind of neglect. You know, there's no way in the world that I would let my mom, my sisters, my brothers, anybody disrespect my husband. And I know he will have my back the same way. So if he's letting your mom, that's a whole nother ball game right there as well. And for moms, step off. Let your son be a man. Okay, if anything get on your son, you don't join in there with him disrespecting his wife, calling her out her names and everything. I mean, what in the world? I also think disrespect is not a communication issue. That's a character issue. You can't teach respect to somebody who benefits from dishonoring you. Okay, so character is also up here for me, for anybody. That's one of the first things I look at is character. And I ain't talking about in relationship. I'm talking about friendship because I'm married already. But like a friend or anybody I see, maybe I'm meeting somebody new, I always peep them out to see what type of person, how they treat somebody else. Especially if it's like our first time meeting. I want to, let's go somewhere. I want to see what you do, how you do it. I'm observing. Okay, so another thing I want to discuss is there's danger in staying there in that marriage too long. I mean, I'm saying I don't want to see marriages, anybody separating the marriage. But at the same time, you can't be naive. You can't keep letting, somebody beat you down. At some point, you got to leave if it's not getting better. If everything's being put on you, if he's not wanting to change himself, because we can't change him. He can only change, well, you can't change him. He can only change himself. So if he's not trying to change himself in no way, shape, form, and fashion, and keep throwing the ball in your court, putting all them eggs in your basket like you the bad guy, then yeah, you got to move on. You got to show him you mean business. And sometimes moving on or getting out of that home, or going out on your own, that might get him to change, because he'll be like, man, I miss my wife. And he'll start noticing all the bad things he was doing, all the name calling he was doing. And that might make a man up. Okay. So yeah, a lot of women stay in those type of relationships because they believe it's gonna get better, but they hope without evidence, it becomes self-harm. So again, hope without evidence becomes self-harm. So if you're sitting here hoping, but you're not seeing him changing, all that becomes is self-harm. He's going to continue doing what he's doing. People can only beat him, especially if they're not looking for change. All right, so you also in danger of staying too long when you start believing that you the problem. That's gaslighting yourself. You believing you the problem. Like, dog, what I do? What can I do better? How can I change myself? But as you see, you've been in this marriage poster for 7 years. You've been to therapy, you've done some work, and it's not getting better. And he sent you and told you if you don't go, he gonna leave you. The enemy uses confusion to keep you in bondage. God uses truth to set you free. Okay? So, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1 and 7. Okay? A sound mind knows when peace has left the room at all times. So when you walking on eggshells to avoid disrespect, you already living in a war zone. Recognize that. Ain't no way you should be walking around in your home on eggshells. Now let's talk about the emotional abuse disguised as just fighting, quote unquote. That name calling, the humiliation, that intimidation, they're not just bad arguments. That's emotional abuse. When he mock you, he controls your therapy, and he isolates you from help, that's not love, that's manipulation. What type of man, number one, sends you to a therapist by yourself, but then when you get advice from your therapy, even though, I wouldn't, tell you to tell him to go shove it and everything, even though he did need to go shove it. I wouldn't specifically tell you that, but for him to say you can't go back to that therapist who you done spilled your guts out to, who been helping you, just so quickly and abruptly. I mean, that's so much manipulation. Remember that God doesn't call you to submit to abuse. He calls you to submit to truth and righteousness. So this is a man that you don't want to submit to. How? God said, husbands, love your wife just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, what the Bible says in Ephesians 5 and 25. If his love doesn't look like a sacrifice, if it doesn't look like safety, and if it doesn't look like service, it's not godly love. And godly love ain't good. Non-godly love, if it's not godly love, it's not good. Okay? Another thing that can be going on with the poster is the fear of leaving versus the fear of staying. So the poster said that, her finances is one of the reasons that she's afraid to kind of step out on her own. And financial fear keeps a lot of women stuck. But baby, peace is the currency of the kingdom. Hey, if it's going to disrupt your peace the way it's doing to where it make you feel small, man, I don't know if you got to catch our video that we put out yesterday, but we was talking about grandiosity. One up or one down. One partner being one up, prideful, arrogant, and one person being one down, belittled, their self-esteem low, it's not a good place to be. And he's in the relationship one up. He's being grandiose. And you down here one down. A relationship can never work like that. It has to be balanced. Okay. And it doesn't seem like he's trying to come off that high horse to even try to bring you up to a balanced level. Because I'm sure, he's the leader. So if he stepped down off that grandiose horse, then he could build you back up. But I don't see him doing that. I see him still beating you down, talking down on you. So if you can survive constant verbal attacks, you can definitely survive starting over. You ain't got nothing to lose. You're not losing the provider. You're leaving the prison. God provides where he will reside. All right. So just make sure you got God. Okay. Sometimes God lets a foundation crumble, not to punish you though, but to rebuild your life on a rock instead of sand. You're not crazy for loving them anymore. I'm sorry, not loving them. You're not crazy for not loving them anymore. You're healing from the version of yourself that tolerated his chaos. Okay? So healing is a great first step that you need to take. And you are actually taking that step because you going to look for your studio apartment. I commend you on that. Some action steps that you can start to take, poster, is to document the disrespect. Keep that record of what's been said or done for your own clarity and protection. You'll be able to look back over it and be like, yeah, I made the right decision, just in case you one day like, man, I should go back. I should go back to my husband. Take a look. Okay, secure support. Confide in trusted family, a woman's ministry leader, or domestic violence counselor, a domestic violence counselor. Okay. Make sure that you create these glasses. I'm about to just throw them. Okay. Make sure that you create a safe exit plan. All right, because man, this could just be on TV, but when I see it on TV, I'm always like, why did she just do that? You know how they be running down the steps, they grab their bag, they run down the steps, they make it so obvious that they leaving. And the man always grab them by the back of their head and pull them back in or something. Don't do that. Make sure you create a safe exit plan. Prioritize your emotional and physical safety for you and your cats and dogs. You want to reconnect with God's voice. Pray for that discernment and strength daily, not for your marriage to survive at any cost, but for you to survive and thrive. And listen to me, rediscover you. Okay, rebuild your identity. But not only, don't just rebuild your identity in you, because it's not about you, it's about Christ. So rebuild your identity in Christ, not as a wife trying to be good enough, but as a woman who knows her worth. So get out there and walk tall, okay? And my final thought is that when a man tears down a woman he vowed to cover, he forfeits the favor that comes with her. And that's Proverbs 18 and 22 paraphrase. So let's be clear. Love should never cost you your voice. Love should never cost you your safety. And love definitely shouldn't cost you your sanity. Sometimes the bravest thing us as a woman can do is to stop waiting for an apology and start walking towards peace. If you stop loving him, don't confuse that with failure, because it's not. It's the total opposite. And it might just mean you finally started loving yourself the way God always wanted you to. I didn't ask you what you were sipping. Okay. I'm sipping my little black tea tonight. What you got? Put it in the comments. All right, so that's all I have for this tea time. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, I'm going to just sip my little tea. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, share, wherever you at, whatever platform you joining me live. All right. See you on the next one.